There's a specific kind of fear that doesn't come from monsters. It comes from a knock at a door you didn't expect. Footsteps in a field where no one should be walking. A stranger who smiles a little too long. 10 people lived through nights like that. Every one of them almost didn't make it home. Keep the lights on for this one. I was 13 the night this happened, and I was home alone. My dad worked until 10 most nights, and my mom pulled nurse shifts that ran even later. So the house was mine. My PlayStation, whatever was on TV, and the sound of rain starting to come down hard outside. Around 7, I got up to make some food, and that's when the knock came. Not a normal knock. Slow, heavy, 3 times against the front door. I froze. I've always hated answering the door when I'm by myself, so I just stood there in the kitchen, hoping whoever it was would give up and leave. But the knocking came again, harder this time, and then a voice. Police. Open the door. Through the little window, I could see him. A uniform, a badge, standing in the rain, soaked through, not moving. Every part of me wanted to open it. You're taught your whole life that the police are the ones you're supposed to trust. So I did. I opened the door. He was calm at first, asked my name, told me I wasn't in any trouble, that everything was fine. But there was something off about the way he kept glancing past me, into the house, checking the rooms behind me, counting. And then I noticed it. His car. There wasn't one. No cruiser in the driveway, no lights. Just a man in a wet uniform who'd walked to my house on foot, in the dark, in the rain. I don't remember deciding to move. I just slammed the door and locked it and ran for the phone. And I was shaking so badly, the 911 operator could barely understand me. They never found him. But they told me something that still keeps me up. There had been 3 other calls that week. Same neighborhood, same officer, same knock. And every one of those kids had been home alone. 2 of my college friends talked me into a camping trip. I'll call them Ryan and Jamie. Jamie was the only one who actually knew what he was doing. So he led us a couple of miles through the woods to a wide open field right on the edge of a river. We set the tents up dead center, cracked some beers, and sat around the fire. That's when I noticed the people at the tree line. They looked like hunters. Dirty clothes, backpacks, blending into the woods, but no rifles that I could see. When I pointed them out, Jamie's face changed. He told us hunting was illegal out here, and it wasn't even the season. He didn't like it. Ryan laughed it off, and we moved on. Hours later, we all turned in. I couldn't sleep. Something about lying in a thin tent in the middle of an open field just left me feeling exposed. And then, wide awake, I heard it. Footsteps coming toward the tents. At first I thought it was Ryan or Jamie coming back from the bathroom. But then I realized there was more than one set. 2, 3, maybe more. All walking in a line. I stared at the thin wall of my tent, waiting to see the glow of a flashlight. There was no light at all. Nobody in their right mind walks past 3 tents pitched in the open like that, in total darkness, in silence. But that's exactly what they did. A line of people, passing just a few feet from where I was lying, pretending to be asleep. The second they were far enough away, I unzipped my tent. Ryan was already doing the same. We looked at each other, then out at the field. They were barely visible now, a line of shapes still walking away into the dark. Not toward anything, not away from anything, just moving. We woke Jamie. We didn't talk much. We packed up before sunrise and hiked out. I still don't know who they were. or where they were going. I only know they saw us, and they chose to keep walking. I was working my usual 2 to 10 closing shift at a small drive-through cafe. Tiny place. Just me most nights. I was sitting at a table watching something on my phone when the front door opened. A man stepped in, and right away, something about him was wrong. He didn't order. He didn't browse. He just looked at me and started asking questions. Was I here alone? When did I close? Was anyone else coming? I answered without thinking, the way you do when you're nervous and just want a stranger to leave. And that's when he told me to come with him. He said he was a police officer. He said there'd been a situation and he needed me to move. But he wasn't in uniform. There was no car outside that I could see. And every instinct I had was screaming that if I walked out that door with him, I was not coming back. I moved slow. I stalled. I asked questions, trying to buy time, following him toward the exit while my brain scrambled for any way out. Then headlights swept across the lot. A regular customer pulling in for a late coffee. The man froze. In that 1 second of hesitation, the only second I got, I called it in. What still makes my skin crawl is what the real police told me afterward. He was a cop. He just wasn't on shift that night. He'd driven to my cafe, off duty, out of uniform, specifically for me. And if that customer hadn't pulled in when they did, no one would have known where I went. I was getting out of work late, nearly an hour's drive home, because of some security issue at our company that had everyone leaving after dark. As I got out of the city, I noticed my gas was almost empty, which was strange because I could have sworn I had plenty earlier. I figured I'd fill up at the next station. 10 minutes later, an alert lit up my dashboard. Fuel critically low. I stared at it, confused, because the needle had dropped way faster than it should have. Far more than 10 minutes of driving could explain. I was worried and frustrated at the same time. How was this even happening? I pulled out my phone to find the nearest station, and that's when I saw it in the mirror. There was a car behind me, close, no headlights on, matching my speed exactly. It had been there the whole time. I just hadn't noticed it in the dark. I sped up. It sped up. I slowed. It slowed. Whoever was back there wasn't trying to pass me, and they weren't trying to hide anymore either. I don't know how they drained my tank, or when. Maybe in the company lot. Maybe they'd been waiting for me to leave, counting on me running dry on an empty stretch of road with no lights and no one around. I made it to the station on fumes, pulled in under the brightest lights I could find, and locked my doors. The car behind me didn't pull in. It slowed as it passed, just enough for me to feel someone looking. Then it drove on into the dark, and I sat there until the sun came up. I'd rented an Airbnb for the first time, visiting the town where my parents live. I came from the city, so this place felt like luxury. A big house on a large plot of land, spacious and quiet. The first night, I was winding down when I got the feeling you can't explain. The one that tells you you're being watched. I looked toward the window, and there was a man standing outside in the dark, staring straight in at me. I got chills that I can still feel when I think about it. That face, lit only by the light spilling out of the house, watching me from the yard like he'd been there a while. I told myself I had to keep it together. I did one last check of the house before bed, and when I got back to that window and pulled the curtain aside, nothing, but I heard footsteps, sprinting away from right outside the glass. here's the part I can't shake. I'd been in that house with my family earlier. The man could have been inside when I came back that night. And if I hadn't happened to catch him watching me through that window, I might have gone straight up to bed, never knowing he was there, never knowing I wasn't alone. I was 16. Me and my friend, I'll call him Leon, decided to check out an abandoned place on the edge of town. We'd only ever seen it during the day. It was mostly just a big field of grass with an old house and, further back, a barn. As we walked up, we crossed a circle of worn dirt that ran around the whole perimeter of the house, like something had paced around it, over and over. Then we saw the path to the barn, except it wasn't really a path. It was footprints all over the ground, and they didn't look like other kids had been exploring. They went in a single line, one after another, straight to the barn door. We should have left right then. We didn't. We went inside the house first, and when we turned around, the door we'd come through had swung shut behind us. Leon sprinted over and shoved it open, and we did not stop moving. I never found out who made those prints, or why they circled the house, or what was waiting in that barn. But I've thought about it a lot since, and I think if we'd stayed to find out, we might never have left. I was working late deliveries, almost 1 in the morning, when I took one last order. The snow was really starting to come down. My SUV usually handles it fine, so I wasn't nervous. Yet. The address took me down a smaller road, trees lined up tight on both sides, and out to a house sitting alone in a field. I got out. The snow was deeper than I wanted, soaking through my shoes as I walked to the door. I knocked. Nothing. Knocked again. No response. Not a footstep. Not a sound from inside. And that's when it hit me. There were no lights on, no car, no sign that anyone had ordered anything, or that anyone lived here at all. Someone had sent me to an empty house in the middle of nowhere, in a snowstorm, at 1 in the morning. A sound just from as I was piecing that together, I heard, and then a man, coming around the corner, moving toward me through the snow, closing the distance fast. I dropped everything and ran for my car. He got within a few feet before I got the door shut. I don't know who placed that order, or how they knew I'd be the one to come. I only know the house was never the destination. I was. I worked nights at a gas station, and over time I got to know a regular. Came in almost every night around 1 in the morning. Friendly enough. Told me his name was Dave. One slow night, no other customers, just me and him, I tried to make casual conversation. Asked if he'd gotten a new bike, since he'd rolled up on one. He answered, but something in the way he talked always left me a little uneasy. I couldn't name it, I just felt it. Then Dave disappeared, almost a whole week without seeing him. And when he came back, he wasn't alone. There was someone in his vehicle. And whatever was happening in there, it wasn't right. He sounded frustrated, agitated, and my gut was screaming at me. As he pulled away, still stunned, I managed to get my phone out and snap a photo of his license plate. I gave it to the police. It turned out there was a woman in that vehicle. They reached her in time, before he could hurt her. And Dave wasn't his real name. It never had been. Every night he'd come in, every friendly conversation we'd had, he'd been someone else entirely. I'd been making small talk with a stranger who was very good at pretending to be a regular. And I still wonder how many nights he sat across that counter from me, deciding. I manage a mid-sized grocery store, and I was pulling one of my 10-hour shifts with no help that night. Just me, working fast, trying to get everything done. I noticed a man at the front windows, looking in. When he spotted me, he didn't look away. He just stared. And it wasn't curiosity. It was rage. This pure, unexplained anger aimed right at me through the glass. I made it clear I saw him and that I meant business, and only then did he step back from the window. But he didn't leave. He moved to the entrance, one of those revolving glass doors, and he was still there, a few feet away, that furious look never leaving his face. I didn't hesitate. I ran out the far exit, and that's when I saw the van, parked where I couldn't have seen it from inside, doors ready. The angry man at the window had never been alone. He'd been keeping my attention while the rest of it got into position. The security footage isn't clear enough to prove exactly what they intended, but we can say almost for certain what they were trying to do. They were trying to get me into that van. And I still don't know what I did to make that man look at me the way he did, like he already knew how the night was supposed to end. This was in Wisconsin, mostly flat, endless forests, small towns scattered between them. I was driving back late after a weekend at a friend's place, and I was exhausted. I'd done everything I could think of to stay awake. Around 11, out of the dark, a man stepped toward my headlights with his thumb out. He asked for a ride into the next town, just a spare seat. It was pitch black, and I couldn't see much of him, but I felt bad, so I let him in. We made small talk. Where'd I been? Where was I headed? And then, calm as anything, he told me he'd changed his mind. He didn't want the next town anymore. He wanted me to take him to the trailhead instead. The trailhead, not a town, not a house. A dark path into the woods, off the main road, where no one would see us pull in. Something in me went cold and clear all at once. I was suddenly wide awake, aware of every detail. The way he was looking at me, the way his hand was resting near the door. I told him I'd let him out right here. I got him out of the car and left that area as fast as I've ever driven. I gave the police everything I had. And here's the part that still gets me. They cut a piece of carpet out of my car, from the passenger side, where he'd been sitting. They didn't tell me everything they found on it. They just told me I'd been very, very lucky. 10 people, 10 ordinary nights, a knock, a field, a stranger's smile, a set of footprints leading somewhere they shouldn't. Every one of them walked away, but every one of them will tell you the same thing. The moment they realized something was wrong was the moment it was almost too late. So the next time you get that feeling, the one you can't explain, the one telling you to leave, don't wait to find out if you're right. I'm Bloody Tales. Sleep well.